I guess we're ready to go. Good afternoon to all of you joining us in presence in Intertraffic Amsterdam. It takes some pleasure to say that after 4 years, for those of you who have been attending Intertraffic before. My name is Susanna Zamataro, Director General of the International Road Federation, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you in presence here, but also all those of you who are watching us live from Amsterdam, but through Zoom. So thanks to technology, we are finding a way to be together. This workshop will last 60 minutes, lots to cover. And so I will already start by apologizing because I'm gonna rush, I hope not, the speakers, but we wanted to take this opportunity for those of you who are in presence and those watching on remote to really shed some light on a fundamental key topic, which is road asset management. For those of us in the sector, when we say road asset management, you feel the big elephant in the room. But we are here today not only to take stock of what are the challenges and some of the opportunities to respond to those challenges effectively. But we're taking also the opportunity of some of you being present in Intertraffic, showcasing solutions to, in fact, bring you some information and knowledge on what already exists, on some of the tools, those practices that are available to the road authorities and to the operators today. If with the assistance of Agostina, whom I thank very much, and the rest of the team for pulling this together. I can assure you it's a bit complicated to handle the hybrid version, but here we are. A very warm welcome to all our speakers. The agenda for today is, if you can see from the program, we will have a first part, roughly 15 minutes, for a quick exchange with Liz Weidner, who is on the line with us. She's the head of the Strategic Roads Division at the European Investment Bank. And on my right-hand side, in presence here in Amsterdam, Steve Phillips, Secretary General of the Conference of European Directors of Roads, better known as CEDR. Next, Agostina, with your help, we will be welcoming a group of speakers, as I just said, are going to present to you some new ideas and also some solutions. Pietro Torchi Luciforo is the general manager of Ecogest in Italy. Antonio Stornello, both in presence here at Intertraffic Amsterdam, is an architect and co-founder of the Cassandra. And then Manilol from the Cassandra project. Manilol couldn't be present with us. Next slide. Then we welcome Nicola Miraval, the CEO of Oris. Then another CEO, Ibon Are Chalde, mispronounce your name, is the CEO of a startup. Asimov is actually the winner of the 2021 edition of the IRF startup label. So I'm extremely happy to provide this platform to Asimov. Meran Eskandari Torbagan from the University of Birmingham. I see Meran is on the line, UK. Thank you, Meran, for being with us today as well. And last but not least, Thierry Gauget, Secretary General of FERL, the European Forum for Road Research, who is in presence here with us in Amsterdam. So lots of speakers and lots to cover. We will immediately start with this initial conversation between Steve and Liz Weidner. And this initial conversation is really to set the stage for the debate today. In my introduction, I just told road asset management, the elephant in the room, but I would say it's more because of the list of challenges that we have. The list of challenges is growing for road authorities and operators. It starts with climate change, adaptation, resilience. You will see it's a concept that will be coming more and more during our conversations. But let's not forget as well about not only the cost of damages because of extreme weather event, but the cost of congestion, the need as well to find appropriate answers and appropriate infrastructure and transport systems that can respond to the challenge of rapid population growth and that associated to that rapid growth in terms of urbanization. So lots on our agenda, and I will start with Lisa and Steve, and I thank them both very warmly. Lisa has also a very busy agenda, and I'm particularly grateful for her to take the time to have a quick chat with us. Lisa, let me start with you. The European Investment Bank has seen major changes in the past 2 years. Could you please briefly introduce the bank's role and how it has actually recently evolved?
Thank you very much, Susanna, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. So my name is Lise Weidner, and I'm the head of the Strategic Roads Division, as Susanna has mentioned, in the Mobility Department in EIB's Projects Directorate. So the European Investment Bank is the largest multilateral lender and borrower in the world, and we raise funds on the international capital markets and pass on the favorable conditions we get from those to our clients. Since 1958, we have invested more than 1.5 trillion euros in over 160 countries. In the last 10 years, our transport lending has amounted to around 12 billion annually, or 18% of total EIB lending. About 80% of our transport lending is inside the European Union. Roads account for about 30% of this lending, although we do expect some drop in this volume based on the approval of the Climate Bank roadmap in November 2020. With the approval of the CBR, as we call it, Climate Bank roadmap internally, we do expect to see that the drop in lending for the road sector is offset by increased lending to other sectors such as rail and urban public transport, and also increased lending to rehabilitation. In addition to lending, EIB also provides advisory services. The Climate Bank roadmap focuses on two core issues. First one is reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and the other one is on building climate resilience. So for us as an institution, resilience is very much related to climate aspects. In 2021, we also approved our adaptation plan, which is in support of the EU adaptation strategy. And if you're interested in these documents, you can find both of them on eib.org. For EIB in the road sector, resilience is very much about preservation and upgrading of existing assets to meet the climate challenges of the future.
Thank you very much, Lise. And I think we'll be coming back to this concept of resilience in the conversation. Let me turn to Steve and ask him to present briefly CEDAR as well.
Yeah, thank you, Susanna, and thank you for the IRF for organizing this and for inviting me today. And I guess thank you to Lise as well for being, the EIB has been such a strong partner to many of the CEDAR members. So CEDAR, the Conference European Directors of Roads, we represent the road administrations of Europe. And I guess before I start, I'm just looking around. Is Will Smith in the room? No, okay, that's the only joke you're going to get today, because this is not a joke. Let's be clear. We are facing big challenges in the road sector at the moment. Many of which, some of which Lisa has already alluded to, but some of that, you pick up in the discussions that we're having here in this conference today, and a very, very useful conference it is. If I look at the roles of many of the road authorities, they pretty much all of them will have three key topics in their KPIs. The key visions. It's safety, it's greening, and it's efficiency. Some of them now, and I think this is something we're also doing as CEDAR now, actually recognizing that all three of those topics are key components of the overall topic of sustainability. And the question, if you look at sustainability in all of its senses, and I think we've been quite clear referring to the UN SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of them, they are quite broad and they touch on many of the different aspects, and aspects which I would say have been at the core of what road authorities have been doing probably for hundreds of years. in terms of its contribution to society, its contribution to economic growth, its contribution to leveling society, reducing inequalities, a whole range of different aspects. Another one, again, is, to be sustainable, there is also a question, can we be sustainable if we're not resilient? Because resilience, is basically our ability to adapt and determine the level of service that we have to provide, regardless of what happens. And I think we'll go into that later. What I would say in some of the reflections on what Lisa's talking about, some of the challenges that we're also facing. Again, we're not dealing with just a static infrastructure. I know this session is all about road assets, but again, from the CEDA perspective, it's not just about the assets; it's about the system. And not only is it about the road system, it's also about the system of systems, as we call it. Our resilience, for example, is going to become even more critical in terms of our relationship with the telcos industry. As we get digital roads, it's going to be, and we're seeing it now, very much more connected with issues around the electricity industry. So the different networks and all of those that are developing. Just to wrap that up, I mean, again, this is not new in CEDA. We've been trying to engage in these discussions much broadly for a long time. If I can make a quick plug for the Transport Research Arena, the conference that we have every 2 years, which I hope many of you will be at. This is a deliberate attempt to actually reach out across the sector, both the road sector, the rail sector, the aviation, the water, et cetera, to build that multi-sectoral, multimodal approach, because we cannot be resilient, or we cannot develop those resilient plans unless we are, considering it as part of a system. So I'll stop there for now.
Thank you very much, Steve. And I see Lisa nodding. So I want to come back, Lisa, to this issue of and concept of resilience. I mean, Steve has just mentioned some of the criticalities. What are, from your perspective, the critical issues when talking about resiliency, especially in the road sector, of course?
Yes, thank you very much, both to Steve and you, Susanna. So when we focus on resilience in the road sector, I think we need to take a step back and recall that roads actually offer a level of flexibility in the case of a climate disruption event that we do not see in other transport modes. So in such case, the roads system plays a key role in evacuation, relief, and rescue efforts. And in terms of the needs of the sector, we did a study in 2020 which showed that there was an increasing heavy maintenance backlog. So this is a difference between the optimum and the actual expenditure over a 10-year period that ended in 2018 on the strategic roads network in Europe of estimated 62 billion euros across the 27 member states. So this is a huge investment need and a huge gap too. And I completely agree with the way that Steve put the question. And I would say that we are not sustainable if we're not resilient.
Thank you. And that important concept as well of the resilience of the network, which is, I think, a point on which we have not been paying enough attention. We are already struggling with the time. I just want to quickly ask to both of you, we know what are the criticalities and the issues. So then what would be the best way, or what are the strategies that help best meet those challenges in your respective views? And I want to start with Lisa and then turn quickly to Steve.
Thank you very much, Susanna. So basically at the EIB, we look at climate resilience from two different strategic angles. The first one is upfront at the planning stage, where we consider the vulnerabilities of different solutions at the planning. And then the second level is the project level, where we look at it both from design and operational stages. At the upfront planning stage, we provide advisory support. We have, for instance, recently undertaken a large study together with the road authority in Poland on climate change adaptation for national roads and prioritization and needs assessment through one of our advisory arms. And we're doing similar efforts at the moment in Portugal and Spain. At the project stage, when we appraise new projects, we help clients analyze a specific project's resilience to climate events before it's constructed through what we call climate change vulnerability and risk assessments. And then for the resilience of the existing infrastructure, we are currently looking into how we can support countries in increasing their resilience of their overall TEN-T road networks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Lise, and I'll turn it to Steve.
Okay, I'm very aware that time is critical. Certainly, it's very topical as well. I mean, Lisa refers to the 62 billion. I would probably say that's yesterday's figure, and every day that, you know, if we talk to our colleagues down in the hall, that's increasing every single day. You know, when you hear that, you know, tenders are being submitted with a validity of only 5 days because they know that the costs are going to increase. So it's very, very relevant. On resilience, I would again, I would just underline, you know, we look at 3 issues in terms of resilience. There is the basic physical infrastructure. And that is the physical infrastructure resilient? Is the digital infrastructure resilient? And that's going to become more and more important. And the third one, which I think is often the forgotten one, but I would even suggest maybe is the important one, is the organizational resilience or the institutional resilience. And this goes in a number of different areas, because, you know, we know, and we've seen, you know, we've seen with COVID and other things, you know, the plans, the preparedness was there. You know, many governments were ready for COVID. In fact, I recently heard, you know, if only COVID had happened in 2017, we would have been ready for it. But since then, if you like, you know, the plans had changed and the preparedness dropped. So the plans were there, but the preparedness was not there. So there is issues. One of the things, I refer to the SDGs, and one of the things that we really want to focus on over the next few years, I think, is SDG 16. Everyone says, what is SDG 16? Which is about trusted and resilient institutions. Because I think, you know, with this phrase of build back better, you know, if we are building back our society better, then the question of trust becomes even more important. You know, we know societal trust in many respects has been fractured. We need to be building back the understanding that the road authorities, which are part of the public sector, we need to be rebuilding the trust. And that's very, very important, because, you know, when we talk about the EIB, most of its investment is in CapEx, capital expenditure, whereas we know the biggest challenge is in operational expenditure, which again is closely linked to all those other things. We know the examples of, you know, how do we build strong pipelines for the operational expenditure is based on trust. We have the examples from Denmark, from others, you know, where audit authorities have come in, they've audited the processes, and they proved, yes, okay, you're right. This, you know, the money you're asking for is the money that's justified. So all this question of trust, I think, is absolutely important and needs to be embedded right across our sector, as I say, as we build back. And the other thing that, of course, is strongly related to that is what happens is we mentioned before, is bandwidth. You know, because it comes back to the skills and the challenging priorities that are on all of the public authorities at the moment. So we need to build bandwidth so that, again, I refer to the question of COVID. You know, one of the quotes I heard was, you know, we would have been ready for COVID, but we were only addressing one challenge at a time. No, we have the plans, we have preparedness plans for all of the different challenges, but somehow we get distracted, and when that thing happens, the plans go out of the window. We need that institutional strength, the bandwidth, the presence of mind, and the trust in order to address those. And then I think all of the technology issues that you will hear later on this afternoon will help us address those.
Fantastic, Steve. You basically responded to 3 questions in one shot, so that makes us gain some time. But coming back to this question about funding and financing and the type of level of service or response that we should have, brings to my mind one thing, and probably a question to both of you. So then, is the answer that we are all going to move towards PPPs, public-private partnerships, because that's normally the type of services or response that is usually associated with the type of private sector response? I'll turn first to Lise, because I already know your answer, Steve.
Yes, I mean, I think, of course, performance-based maintenance contracts are increasing, and the PPP experience. I think that that, of course, in the terms when we speak about climate change, one of the issues is the unpredictability of the entire issue, and that's difficult to contract, obviously. Yeah, so I think the public sector needs to be very involved in this process.
Thank you, Lisa, and he's pulling away the microphone for me to answer.
Just to avoid having words put into my mind. I mean, let's be clear. You know, the partnership, and I stress the partnership with the private sector is absolutely vital, and we need to build that, and we need to build it based on trust. Whether the traditional PPP model is the way that we see going forward, whether we're forced into that model, and you can see certain things come out of Brussels which might suggest that, which may cause some challenges in the future. There we have to see. But I would certainly stress, you know, we need to be working in partnership with industry and not getting locked into a confrontational standpoint.
Absolutely, and I think this is the overall challenge of the whole climate issue, that we need to work together, everybody across all sectors, and public and private, to basically face this challenge if we want to be successful with it.
Absolutely, and there was no better conclusion to this quick exchange partnership. You are in the right place. Partnerships, as you know, are really the DNA of our federation, and it's also the reason why we are here today. So thank you very much to both of you. I kindly ask you to stay on with us, because on the critical point about assessing vulnerability risk, Lisa, that you were referring also for the project, there's some private sector here today and not, and they are here to really share with you some ideas and present some solutions. So thank you very much. And with that, I ask Agustina to move us to the second part of the workshop, and I would like to invite to the floor the first speaker. Thank you very much, Steve. The first speakers, and Piero Torchi-Nucifora, General Manager, Ecogest Italy, and Antonio Stornello, Architect and co-founder of Cassandra in the UK. And give a big round of applause of Agustina, who's handling all the logistics of this. Thank you. I forgot also to mention to those who are online, please use the question answer function. I am not sure, I am not going to promise you we'll be able to answer all the questions, but what we can do is to take your questions and come back afterwards offline to all of you. So if you have questions for our speakers, please use the question answer function. Piero.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the ITS of IRF, who have strongly wanted us to be here today, and also to send a warm greeting to the experts and speakers who make this session important by giving their precious contribution. My name is Pietro Torchi, and I am the General Manager of Ecogest SPA. Ecogest SPA is owned by Molinari family, which main shareholder is Valerio Molinari, and is the leader company in Italy in the sector of maintenance of green areas and roadside vegetation along roads and motorways, with over 50 years of history and experience along Italian and European motorway networks. It's a pleasure for me to be here today, finally in person, to introduce an experimental study which will be illustrated shortly by the founders and developers of Cassandra. I am talking about a pilot study carried out by the Climate Change Study Center, an initiative established in November 2020 and promoted by Greenway Group, a holding company owned by the Molinari family, which fully owns Ecogest. The CCSC stems from the collaboration between the Greenway Group, Ecogest, the founders of the Cassandra project, and some leading Italian experts in IceCat and IceCat services. The purpose of the initiative is to monitor the impacts of climate change on transport infrastructures and to analyze the consequences of their efficiency and maintenance choices. The main objective of the CCSC is to provide useful information regarding resilience issues in the road sector to promote the change of good practices between operators and end users, and to propose project initiative and research and development activities in these specific areas. Our ambition, and for this reason, we are using an innovative software that has no equal at that moment, is to visually demonstrate how an adjustment of the motorway maintenance processes, starting from the roadside vegetation, can help to preserve the quality and safety of motorway networks with respect to the stress caused by the devastating impact of climate change. I now leave the floor to the architect Antonio Stornello, who will tell you more about the first pilot study conducted by the CCSC in Italy along a few sections of the Venetian motorway operator CAV. Thank you.
Thank you, Pietro. Imagine you can save money while saving the planet. These effects, the effects deriving from climate change are now evident for all to see. This means that extreme and disastrous natural events are occurring more and more frequently, and our infrastructure has proven to be inadequate in dealing with the effects of these events. The direct consequence of the increase in these events is a hike in the costs to repair the damage caused. These events also create another consequential problem, the reductions of people's quality of life. And this affects not only those who travel on highways, but also those who live in their immediate proximity to these, who live or study or go to work in buildings that are close to the highways, but also the non-human inhabitants of these areas, the plants and the animals. The relationships between infrastructures and the context due to climate change manifests itself under various aspects directly connected to each other: water, air, environment, health, safety, etc., creating a negative domino effect. Up until now, we have tried to solve these problems by focusing only on one topic at a time, leaving out others, or at very least not considering the relationship, the direct and indirect effects between them. But infrastructures are complex systems and everything is connected. Water to air, health and buildings and infrastructures are all connected to each other. And the topic cannot be resolved without taking into account its relationship with the other parameters. Having recognized the lack of vision of this type, together with my colleague Mark Annata, we have created Cassandra, an integrated decision support system based on BIM technology, specifically designed to make infrastructures more resilient and at the same time increase quality of life parameters. Cassandra is unique in the world compared to other systems because it's the only multidisciplinary and fully comprehensive IDSSS. It's the only IDSS that reaches high levels of geographical accuracy. It's also capable of measuring and visualizing positive actions by an individual and at the same time of an entire community. It's the only system that allows for the prioritization of economic investments in areas where they will have a greatest impact on climate resilience. And it is the only IDSS directly linked to accepted quality of life indexes. Here we see how the dynamic process of Cassandra works. At the beginning, we have the definition of the objectives to be established together with the decision maker. Then the data acquisition that allows us to create a parametric virtual twin and to create a specific database of project. Then we'll be able to create different scenarios, and at the end, the best scenarios will be identified. Then an action plan will be given to the administration where all the various proposed interventions are identified and motivated by the data. Here, the Cassandra service ends. Then the administration will carry out the intervention, and in a management loop, it's possible to reinsert the interventions performed inside the virtual twin. In these ways, will be possible to check if the interventions that have been proposed have achieved the set objectives and allowing you to make quick and precise changes. Each element that makes up the digital twin is analyzed using 12 main parameters and hundreds of sub-parameters. These 12 parameters are scoring using a resilience index that will arise from the various sub-parameters and the interaction between them. Only through the cross-examination and analysis of the relationship between the different parameters, the negative domino effect that we saw at the beginning can be turned in the positive domino effect. Cassandra's goals is also to improve quality of life, which is why some of the parameters we analyzed are directly related to the OECD quality of life parameters, while for the other parameters, the positive effect will be indirect or subordinate. When we create a digital twin, we break down the infrastructure into its components: the road surface, the noise barriers, the guardrail, the vegetation in the vicinities, also the buildings. And these elements will be analyzed through the set parameters, sub-parameters, and their relationship. This gives us a snapshot of the resilience of the area. We will then study various scenarios, altering these parameters until we find an optimum one that can meet the objective set and an adaptive pathway plan can be created. Here you can see the comparison between the resilience index of the initial state and the preferred scenario. So it's where Cassandra helps you to save money while saving the planet. We are working across the world, from Italy to Caribbean to the United Kingdom. From New Zealand, we're about to start a collaboration with the University of Auckland. To Northern Italy, where together with the Climate Change Study Center, we are working to improve the resilience of the motorways operated by CAV, Concessioni Autostradali Venete, the first company that's using Cassandra on its highways. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonio, and thank you, Piero, for this interesting presentation. I'm now actually proposing to swap. I'm looking at Yvonne, just because to stay on the issue of platforms and artificial intelligence and digital twins, I think it would be more appropriate to take Nicola Miravalls, who is the CEO of Oris, at this stage. Yvonne, I apologize. I'll take you right after this one, since we are talking about decision support systems. We're getting ready for the slides. And in the meantime, I still encourage those of you who are online to use the question and answer function to put forward your questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, IRF, for this great platform and for the quality of the debate also. Thank you. Those things are so complex. Asset management is about mastering the investment, right? Here we talk about connecting the physical assets to local environment and see what lessons we learn from that. Actually, we talk about digital twin, but it's probably a digital triple, because there is one before construction, there is one at the construction stage, and there is one after construction. So we wish the digital a great family with those kids. Each road is unique, and here is the challenge, actually. My name is Nicola Miravalls. I'm the CEO of Oris, and Oris is a digital service company dedicated to optimize roads with local sourcing intelligence. Oris brings a digital solution to road decision maker at early stage, connecting digital twins and algorithm to materials and climate data geolocation services. Actually, roads is only materials. So materials will impact 60% of the cost of this road, will impact the maintenance cost, of course. It will impact 85% of the carbon emission of this road. And it will definitely impact the road resilience capacity of this road. So it's quite intuitive to understand materials are so important. It's another stage to measure and quantify this through different systems. So the project can be designed and to meet objectives. And those objectives are within ORIS around 6 modules. You see here the natural resources consumption control, the safety recommendation, the financial control of your investment, obviously, the sustainability optimization, the resilience analysis, and the pavement design optimization. Out of those 6, I will just pick 2 of those for today because the time is limited. We'll talk about resilience and carbon. I guess Liz will be happy with that because that's the 2 that we heard from her. So here we are on the platform, or almost. This is a screenshot of the resilience capacity. So here we were analyzing the risk on 5 different climate risks. You see the heat, frost, landslides, water runoff, and silting. And for each of those risks, having a very deep understanding of the exposure of the project to those risks, the vulnerability analysis, mitigation measures, and adaptation proposals. So you can, I mean, this is interactive. You can click on it and get the current situation, the evolution, and compare the 2 over the 40 next years. So that's for the resilience. If we talk about carbon and carbon emission, here we have a series of graphs, and here we consider the entire life cycle of the road, and that's the challenge also here, because you see the blue part is the construction stage, the yellow one is the use phase, and the green part is the end of life. Whenever there is an end of life on this project, there were one. That's quite explicit also here to see that the use phase and the end of life are very, very emitting in terms of carbon. So we should not stick to the construction stage only. And it's interesting and important to consider the entire scope of the things. On the right side, you have different tools to anticipate the temperature of your mix in case of an asphalt, the type of energy that you will use. Is it photovoltaic? Is it traditional grid energy? The transport also will be monitored with different options. So you can go layer by layer and have a very deep understanding of what your road will be emitting in time. So I don't go in more details here, but it's quite interesting. The use phase in particular is considering different modules like the albedo of the roads, the maintenance scenario that you will inject into it. And yeah, you have in one place a very comprehensive approach to that. Obviously, it's complex and there are multiple dimensions to consider. We hear that many times already about the multi-dimensions and the complexity, and I cannot agree more. What I want to emphasize here is that those parameters are not necessarily conflicting one to another. And sometimes if you spot the right scenario, you will have the good surprise to see your parameters going on the right direction, all of them. And sometimes no, because definitely it's due to the uniqueness of each road. And that's so important to consider. Each road has to talk to its environment in terms of data and different component. And this uniqueness is preventing from having always the same scenario and always the same result. So here I just mentioning the 6 modules: construction cost, carbon, maintenance, natural resources, safety standards, and resilience. And you see the range of variations that you can hit in there. And it's quite important. So it's worth having a few iterations and using the digital for that. I'm done with this, and I will let you the floor.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. Perfectly on time. And I thank all the speakers for sticking to the 5 minutes that have been allocated to them. And we move forward now with the with Asimov, with Ibon, who is the CEO of Asimov Spain, who will be talking to us about autonomous road inspector. I think there's some video as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation to talk here today. We are Asimov and we make the autonomous road inspector. The problem is very easy to understand. Only with the data of Europe, we have 23,000 people that is dying every year in Europe in road accidents. And we know in different studies in Europe that the 30% of these accidents are directly influenced by the road infrastructure, sometimes worsening the consequences of the accident and other times causing the accident itself. We have a solution for that, that is improvement in signage, because really, according to other studies, up to the 87% of these accidents could be avoided with better signage. But the problem is the way we are monitoring now this signage, because really it's very, very difficult to improve when we only do that with people that is visually detecting the things, remember with his memory and trying to take notes to send this information. So we cannot improve, at least if we don't change to other efficient solutions. And this is our idea with the autonomous road inspector. Really, it's a system that is able to automatically detect all the elements on the road, is able to classify these elements, and is able to analyze if they are okay or not, or they have a problem. It's a system developed by different kind of sensors and computer vision with elements installed inside the vehicles, and then with further analysis on cloud. The system is composed by mainly 3 parts. The first part on the left, you can see the software on board. Really, we have very light devices. We only develop the software, our Android devices that are connected to the vehicle. With these devices, we collect data and collect video, record video in those places that we want to monitor. And then this data and this video is sent to the cloud when we apply our computer vision models and data analytics. And with that, we are able to detect, classify the different elements. Finally, we have a web interface for the customers that can access to the information, access to the alarms, the alerts. But of course, this web interface can be connected with the platforms, because we know that there are some platforms and we are not interested in the platform. We are interested in the fresh data from the road. Actually, we are providing 3 kinds of services. One is for the monetization of the vertical signage with the detection, classification, and check of permanent signage, but also of these temporary signals that are put in work zones or in the cities. We have a second service to the detection and quality check of the different lane markings and the road markings that we can see on the pavement. And finally, we have also the service to detect the different irregularities that are on the pavement, detecting and classifying it automatically. I have here 2 short videos to show to you how this is working. Really, here you can see the automatically detection of the lane marks and the evaluation of the visibility of these lane marks in different moments of the day. This is during the day, but we can analyze also during the night or during rainy days. And here in the second video, I'm going to pass. You can see it's in the same road, but in a place where they have some problems with the irregularities on the pavement. You can see, like in the first moments, there is no many problems, but automatically in this part, you can see a lot of cracks, potholes, crocodile skins, and other elements. This is automatically detected at the normal speed of the vehicle. We go at 70 kilometers per hour in this road, but 120 in the high roads. So really, the most interesting part is the process on cloud, where all this is detected and show it to the responsibles of the maintenance. Well, finally, the next services we will provide for this summer are the control also of the safety barriers. Is the last element that we have to control in the whole road. And then we have an agreement with Mercedes-Benz that is focused in Spain to be able to use all the data that are collected by the vehicles in Spain to detect slippery road, heavy rain, fog, and crosswind, and also to give the roadness index in every moment when you want. Or of course, we have a roadmap for the future to be a third-party evaluator of the road in the different levels to be used by autonomous vehicles. These are some of our references, mainly in Spain. We are starting now a project here in the Netherlands. And well, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibon, and really interesting, exciting what technology does these days. I will be passing now the floor to Meran, who is a lecturer in infrastructure asset at the University of Birmingham. He's reaching us on remote. Meran, good to see you again.
Thank you.
For helping us understand a little bit more your work on digital twins. And I think everything ready. 5 minutes,
Sure.
Meran. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So it is an ongoing project that I'm leading from Birmingham in collaboration with the University of Nottingham, and we have Manchester on board as well, University of Manchester, and the project has been supported by the UK National Highways. The project has been funded by U21, which is like an agreement between 21 universities, and UCREEC in the UK. So our aim is very simple. We want to develop a digital twin for roads, but we have some bias, some interest on some aspects of it, which I will tell you in a second. So why digital twin? We heard about different technologies, very interesting sort of approaches, even like asset management, risk management, and we see it as a platform to bring these aspects together and to achieve a proactive asset management and moving away from this reactive approach that we have. And part of it, we think it's important to have more predictive approach and more data-driven approach. So this is how we see the concept of digital twin for roads. On the left-hand side, you see the sources of data that we are considering: normal historical data, inventory, condition, traffic, weather, accidents, and then real-time data using IoT. So Mercedes-Benz was mentioned in previous presentation, getting the data from autonomous vehicles, mobile apps. We saw it in today's presentations as well, and so on. Rainfall events, for example, under weather condition, and so on. And so this is the data, and data will go through our data-driven models. So this is using machine learning approaches to predict the condition of the asset, and also to have the light condition of the asset on the platform. Then what we're trying to do is to inform this data-driven model with a physics-based model. So we are doing numerical modeling, and we use numerical modeling as a new set of data into our data-driven models. We are also looking into the interaction between different assets. So for example, the ground, and we see it as an asset without any asset owner probably, but still with huge impact on road, and therefore we see the importance. And also not necessarily for highways, but a more urban sort of environment, buried utilities and their conditions and the impact of their deterioration on road deterioration. And for highways, we are looking into our drainage systems and how that can have impact on road condition. So bringing everything in a more 3D visualization of our asset, which shows the current condition and also the prediction. And we are using that to inform our design, maintenance, and construction. So we are into optimizing our maintenance, and we are going through life cycle analysis, normal approaches that we do, but this time it's informed by data. And also for maintenance, in terms of identifying the most suitable maintenance strategies based on the data rather than what we think is right. As part of this, so this is an ongoing project, and I'm just going to tell you a bit about what we have done so far. So we started initially going through the literature and trying to address this, that identified the most suitable machine learning approach for a road digital twin to inform our data-driven model. So we thought there is no point to reinvent the wheel. Let's go and see what other people have done. So we went through 70,000 articles, and we used machine learning. This is a tool developed by UCL called EPI. And so it was still a very intensive sort of work. So that's the flow chart showing how we did it. I'm not going through the details, but just to tell you that around 67,000, over 67,000 articles, that's where we started, and we end up in 3 studies. And that was a work of 4 months, 2 PhD students. So this is somehow matching the requirements of a digital twin with capacities or application of machine learnings. So there are columns on the right-hand side of the table is showing the machine learning capacities, and left-hand side is showing the road digital twin requirements. And we are reporting our findings very soon, and under publication in Smart Infrastructure and Construction, published by IC. So ongoing research, data-driven models, we're still working on it, trying to further improve. So that's what's part of the process. We identified the existing models from the literature, and then we are further improving them. And that was partly by colleagues in computer science from the University of Manchester, and we have PhD students working on it. Now we have other students doing the numerical modeling, and that will give us a new set of data. And then visualization. And this is the part that I said we got a bit of bias. We know that it is important, but we see it as a more issue for industry to resolve and address. So it's not our main intention, but we're still working on a bit of demonstration side of the thing. So just showing you some of the results. This is only data-driven model. We are using data from the US. It's available, and we started from there. A lot of articles which we reviewed. They also use the same database, and that was one of the reasons. We also have data from the UK, and that would be our next step. So this is the result only based on the data to predict rotting, and you can see around 60% accuracy in prediction. Now this one is the one which a new set of data for our numerical modeling, and you can see a 21% improvement in prediction. So it is over 81% prediction for this particular section of the road, but we don't get the same result everywhere. And we really want to understand this magic box of machine learning. So that's what we are trying to do. And part of that, we are bringing uncertainties into our models. And therefore, we are addressing risk that you heard before. And that's it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mehran, and thank you for summarizing such a complex and rich project in 5-6 minutes that were allocated. And now, last but not least, I'm turning to Thierry Gauget, who is the Secretary General of FERL, the European Forum for Road Research, based in Brussels. And he will be talking to us about physical and digital infrastructure support, connected and autonomous mobility.
Yeah, thank you to IRF, and thank you to you, Susanna. Well, indeed, I'm going to talk about connected, cooperative, and automated mobility. So I'm not sure that's a novel practice for an effective road asset management, but what is sure that we will need to manage CCAM, and this means that the road asset needs to be adapted, and that's therefore we need to get the right physical and digital infrastructure to support the deployment of automated and connected mobility. Well, this means that we have a number of issues to tackle. First of all, the connectivity. Well, we can't expect a full 100 connectivity before 2050, and that's a big issue. We need to make sure that we have the physical and digital infrastructure well understood as a pivotal element, and this is not necessarily the case. The automotive industry tends to believe that they can solve everything by themselves, but indeed, this is not going to happen without the right physical and digital infrastructure framework. There's need for that to get the right guidance for the adapter, I mean the infrastructure operators, the owners, and the cities where this is going to be happening and deployed. And then, of course, there is a need to get the right communication between the PDI classification and the support schemes, and to get a certain idea also of the cost and benefit of that, in a way, technology to be implemented. And so in this product that I'm now very quickly highlighting in less than really 5 minutes, because it's going to be shorter, this is a very new proposal that was submitted to Horizon Europe, one of the first call of Horizon, and we are very pleased that we got the job. So now we are in the phase of signing the grant agreement. This is not yet, let's say, starting, but this is going to happen. So we are going to work on developing a number of solutions, 11 actually. We hope to get a rather high TRL, 6 to 7. And this is going to be, let's say, demonstrated in 7 test sites across 3 European countries, and very different type of test sites. So from living lab, closed area, open traffic highway, urban and peri-urban, up to rural environment. So this is going to be very, very different. So we are going to target 4 main type of solutions, if I can say it this way. So we're going to work a lot on the harmonized and extended PDI classification and support scheme and requirements. We are going to work also on prioritized PDI adaptations and novel PDI support solutions across the different CCAM use cases. We are going to offer as well an open sharing service operational framework and multi-cooperation models that enable the Sense Plan Act approach involving all the different stakeholders and actors in the CCAM environment. And last but not least, we are going to provide an augmented and iterative validation framework that, through the deployment of physical and virtual test beds and supporting simulation activities, should enable the applicability, the viability, but also of the proposed PDI support solutions. And therefore, we hope that with what we are going to do, we are going to really make a very strong step forward into the supporting the CCAM penetration in the European networks. Also enabling the CCAM provider to plug into the platform that we are going to provide, and also to provide in a way the cities, the road infrastructure operators and owners, and as well the logistic operators, some methods and tools to pre-assess in a way these PDI adaptations. So that's going to be a rather technical project, but hopefully making the first stones or strong stones in a way into that, let's say, new way of mobility. So this is going to be something to prepare the future, and the future is maybe not that near from us, but well, we'll see. So it's going to be something to manage well. Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry. You were even faster actually than your allocated time. Fantastic. So it's 3 o'clock sharp here in Amsterdam. I'm trying to move with my computer. I haven't, and I'm asking to the team. I haven't seen questions coming from the chat. I think I scared the people right at the beginning. But I just want to turn to the room if there's any question. Okay. No questions, comments. Yes. And we said it from the beginning, 2 key concepts: asset management in their widest sense, not the traditional way that we look into road asset management, and also resilience in a very large context here. more towards the line of what Steve was mentioning in terms of overall resilience of our network. I'm turning to Agustina. Yes, sorry, I apologize. There's Nicola, I think has a question as well. And Agustina, I'm going to stop you because otherwise I don't see the questions. Okay. No, leave it.
Thank you for the floor. We've seen a lot of questions and a lot of things around connections, data, digital, and so. My question will go to the public side. I fully agree on what was said on partnership, because partnership is about the capacity to collaborate, and that's a key for what's happening or what will happen. My question will go more to the public side. So how do we see this accelerating? How do we see the public side using more and more the different tools and the different capacity that the private side is inventing every day? And we see that there is a lot of energy there. Is that accelerating? So maybe the question is to the public side. So we have Steve and Liz, maybe back here.
I don't know if Liz or Steve would like to answer that question. I'm trying to look at 3 different screens at the same time. That's fine. But if I may, Nicola, I was sitting and listening to all these fantastic presentations this afternoon. I was trying to step myself into the shoes of a road authority or a road operator, and all these solutions are fantastic. But then the question is, which one should I use when, under which conditions? So if I may answer your question myself, and I'm sure I'm not providing you the answer because I'm not a public authority, but that's exactly the reason why we're bringing you here this afternoon, to show you the wealth of expertise and tools that already exists, and to bring everybody together. As a federation, that's what we are trying. Some of you were mentioning as well, we need to talk to each other a little bit more. There needs to be, and I think I'm looking back at Steve again, really stressing this point about partnership. It's not road authorities against the private sector or the other way around. We need to sit down together, because clearly every one of us has a fundamental piece that will make that puzzle function all together. I want to, I don't want to abuse further the time here, because it has been a long day for all of us at Intertraffic, and I'm sure also the people online have other commitments. Just to remind to everyone that all the proceedings of this workshop will be posted online, so both the recordings and the presentation. So you will be able to come back to this. And just also to remind everyone, especially those who were not here yesterday, we launched yesterday in this same room an IRF Innovation Committee. Exactly for that reason, to bring everybody together and start discussing those issues at different levels. There will be 3 different subgroups that we have initially identified. The very first one will be looking into those initial high-level conversations that we had with Liz or Steve. How do we rethink also transportation systems, or with Mike Evans yesterday in Arup. The second one will be looking into technologies and tools that exist. And the third one, coming back now to the issue of asset management, a traditional business in our sector, it's really looking at the innovation in terms of materials. And last but not least, a point that Steve again mentioned today, on the importance of building capacity. Fantastic tools, data, technology is helping a lot, but we will not be able to achieve anything with the best tools unless we have skilled people, and unless we have proper systems and processes in place. And with these words, I'd like to thank very much all the speakers, especially some of you have flown all the way just for this workshop, and all of you are also online. Thank you so much for being with us. And here we are. Come and see if you want to get involved with the IRF new innovation committee. Good afternoon to all of you, and good morning and very good evening for some of those who are watching us from Asia and other parts of the world right now. Thank you.